This is Joji, and this is my mom, Virginia.
Joji's mom.
Joji's mom. And today is Sunday, February 9, 2020. It's the second time that I record a journal this year, and it's the first time with my mom. So thanks everyone for joining us. I know that you prefer when I record a journal with mom, but I am not always with mom. So if mom is not on the journals, it doesn't mean that I don't want her in the journals. It probably is that she's just not home at the time. Anyway, we're still at the summer house. If you tuned in last journal, I told you that we're spending the summer here at our summer house. Mom came to visit and she's gonna stay here for a few days. And so I asked her if she could bring some knitting to show in the journal, and we decided to record today. She came really early so that we can put together the journal before lunch. And Charlie's parents are also here, and they are going to grill some barbecue. And yes, so I'm really happy today. It's a gorgeous day outside. It's not too warm, but it's not cold, so it's really nice.
We had a heavy week last week.
It was very hot.
Very hot.
And do you want to tell about the problems in the city with the electricity?
Yes, we have several interruptions in the electricity, and there are some neighborhoods which were almost for 2 years without electricity.
For 2 weeks?
2 days.
2 days. 2 days
Excuse me.
without electricity.
2 days without electricity, and it is terrible because you have no fridge, no elevators,
exactly,
no water because high
buildings need the water to be pumped up. Yes. So we live most of the year in Buenos Aires city.
In the middle of the city.
In the middle of the city. So most people think that because we're in Latin America, we live in small villages.
No.
Sometimes. Well, we live in very civilized cities. Buenos Aires and its surrounding area is 10 million inhabitants. And but the problem is that the growth in the city has been so sudden and so quick that the city's infrastructure in regards
it's
of
not prepared.
Electricity and sewage and water, it's not ready for the amount of housing that we are developing. And this is something that has been happening for the last 20 years, probably has become worse. It's a matter of social development, and like everyone's trying to figure out how to best solve it, but I think that the amount of work and engineering that needs to be done is not possible with the country's resources at the moment. So basically what happens is that during the summer,
and besides, hay muchos más aires acondicionados.
Exactly. So there are a lot more people, and the cost of air conditioning also has gone down. It used to be something very expensive in Argentina to afford an air conditioning device, but now they are more affordable, and therefore a lot more people are installing those in their houses.
And besides, new buildings are without gas.
Exactly. Also, new building. We use gas for cooking, so our ovens, our stovetops, our heating, water heating, everything is served with gas. But new buildings don't have gas because gas means that they have to be a lot safer. They have to be built in a way that is safe for gas installation.
Para la construcción es caro el gas.
Exactly, so it's expensive to build a house with gas. Therefore, everything is electric. Sorry, we're like telling you all about
our problems.
problems. The thing is that during the summer, the use of electricity is skyrockets, and we have these power outages that can last for 2 or 3 days. And it's so hot, and you don't have water, you don't have elevator to get up to your apartment. It's really worrying. But we deal with this every summer. It's not like it's something new. We are used to them. It doesn't mean that we're happy with them. Anyway, poor mom, she was stuck in the city for a day or two without electricity and very hot temperatures. So yeah, that's what happened to mom last week.
But I survived.
Yeah, you survived. Yes, everyone survives. Okay, let's talk about knitting after talking about our
problems.
So what are you knitting right now? Do you want to show your finished objects first?
Do you want me to show first finished object, or do you want to preserve, to leave it for the last time?
It sounds like you prefer to leave it for the last.
I think it is so nice.
We'll do that.
It is like the fruition,
like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to show me your works in progress then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me reach out.
This is for a baby who is coming in September.
Okay.
This is going to be a blanket.
Mm-hmm.
It's a simple design, but it is easy and relaxed.
Are you using a pattern?
Yes.
Do you remember the name?
Texture blanket.
Texture blanket. Do you have it print out?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is it a free pattern?
A free pattern. No, I haven't.
Okay. Texture blanket.
It is very easy.
We'll try to link it in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
So
a border of Santa Clara
garter stitch.
Yeah.
And it has these little texture lines or bands. And it is written for worsted weight.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Tell them about Amore.
Yes, so this yarn is called Amore, and it's an acrylic and cotton blend that is very nicely spun, as you can see. It is an Argentine yarn that is easily available in one of the stores close to our home. It comes in really nice colors. Mom and I've used it a lot too, but Mom likes to use it
for blankets.
For babies, for blankets. These are washable and yes. So what I like about this yarn if I compare it with both acrylic and cotton by themselves, is that I feel like it's a lot more elastic than just cotton. I feel like it's springy or spongy somehow, and it's softer than cotton. I've made cotton blankets for my children when they were born, because when Nano was born in the summer, so there was no use for a warm blanket for him. And so I made him a cotton blanket, and then when Sebi was born, he was born in the winter, but I liked Nano's blanket so much that I wanted to make a similar one. And the thing is that when you wash cotton and it comes out of the washer, it sort of has the texture of a cardboard. Yeah. It's kind of like not so nice. Yeah, it's kind of rough. It's not so nice against the baby's skin. And then as you use it more, it softens up. But the thing is that with baby's items, you literally have to wash those things every other day almost, because there's all sorts of fluids coming on those blankets. So I feel like this cotton acrylic blend is a lot nicer against the baby's skin than just the cotton. And compared to acrylic, it has this has a more like velvety finish, like a matte finish compared to acrylic. I feel like also it's just more absorbent than just acrylic. So we both really like this product.
And I like to knit it with aguja un poquito gruesa.
With a thicker needle than it needs, so that it's a bit more open. Yes, so this baby is so my sister-in-law, she's my brother's girlfriend, and she is having a nephew. So her brother is having a nephew. So the baby is not related to us, but it's sort of kind of related to relatives.
Yeah, but and besides, I love to knit blankets for babies, and I love my daughter-in-law. So as soon as I knew that a baby was going to be born,
yes,
I said I am going to make another one.
Yes, and I feel like well, I don't think that you as a new mom know how much you'll use those blankets until you have the baby. And then to me it was so much easier to just wrap the baby in a blanket rather than be, have sweaters put on. Sometimes you just have to leave quickly, or you have to go to the doctors, and then you have to spend a lot of time fiddling with warm baby clothes. And I feel like the blankets sort of can do that for you a lot easier. So I was a heavy blanket user when Nano and Sebi were born so many years ago.
No, I think it is nice to have something easy to use.
Yes, and then you can wash and have it clean and fresh and smelling nice again.
And you know that I have a nice que me contaron lindas cosas.
Nice stories. You heard nice stories
because
about
each blanket I made, I know the mothers kept them.
Yes. Well, I still have the one you made for Sebi.
Yeah.
And the ones that I made for both of them.
Yeah. And it is very nice for me to know it.
Yes. So I have 3 works in progress. So we can share one from you and one from me, and then we alternate.
Okay.
So last week I showed you this yarn, and today is now a work in progress. I'm in the middle of the row, but it doesn't matter. So I started a design that's going to be in Interpretations 7 book. It's a new shawl that I'm working on. It's a triangle. The central spine is here, and it's working garter stitch with some eyelet columns. Probably it's going to show a lot better as it grows, or if I can manage to show you when my needles are here. But it's fine. I'm just working on this new design, and I'm using one of the fades that I showed you last journal. It's this Barnyard Knits fade, and I'm using her sock yarn. It's, I think, something like 75% merino, 25% nylon. And I'm going to do the fade from green to pink. Normally I have a tendency to do light to dark, so I try to switch that up. And so the colors that I'm using are called Leaf, Flowering Dogwood, and Renaissance.
I like it very much.
And I don't think I'm going to use the full 3 skeins because this is a triangular shawl, and I just can't picture a triangular shawl big enough to use 3 skeins of yarn, 3 whole skeins. So I think I'm going to use a lot of the green because I want the shawl to be mostly green. And then I'm probably going to use not a lot of this. I'm just gonna use it as a transition color, and then I'm going to use more of the pink. Probably the border is going to be just the pink. I'm going to add a lace border, a lace to the border. So that is my first work in progress that I wanted to show you. As you can see, I'm trying to use more colorful choices. Those who are regular to the podcast know that this is very colorful for me. And Vera and I, when we plan the books, we decide on a color scheme. So we try to stay within that color scheme. And funny, we thought that we wanted an autumnal color scheme to remind us of the fall. And I know you mentioned that you said that this reminds you of the autumn, but for me this is very reminiscent of springtime. So, but it is it goes very well with the rest of the things that we have
feel
planned.
this like an autumn combination.
Yes, you told me so. I feel this like a spring combination, but I think it can be both. Probably it reminds you of autumn because there's a lot of brown mixed in with this green, and here also there's a lot of brown with the green, and this is not a bright pink. This is like a brownish kind of pink. So that's probably why it reminds you of the autumn. It reminds me of this color reminds me of cherry blossoms, and I'm excited about knitting this color because in April I'm turning 40 years old, and we have decided to gift, my family and I have decided to gift myself or to gift everyone a trip to Japan to celebrate my new decade. Yes. So we planned it so that we can hopefully see some cherry blossoms in Japan. We're going at the beginning of April. So yes, this color keeps reminding me that we might see the cherry blossoms, and I'm very, very happy about that. Yeah, so that's my first new work in progress. I, as I told you guys last week, I was almost done with all my works in progress. So I have 3 new things to show you. What else do you have?
The second one. This is an old pattern.
Yes.
From hockey, but I love it since the first time I saw it.
Oh.
It is called puntilla.
Okay, so this is your puntilla. Do you have your pattern photo with you? So we can show.
No se ve mucho.
It doesn't show a lot, but maybe. So it shows a little bit here. It's a boxy sweater with some lace details in the bottom hem and cuffs. So you're using, do you remember what
Mechita.
you're using? Malabrigo Mechita in the colorway?
No tenía.
Plomo. So we got this during one of our trips to Uruguay.
I will add it in the rubber ring.
Malabrigo Mechita in plomo.
Joji designed it with a light color and
a dark contrasting lace band. but you're going to use a lighter one, a light color here in the bottom edge and in the cuffs. Very nice.
This is mechita also? No.
This...
It seems like mechita.
No, it's not. This is probably fino.
Maybe.
From
The
Manos.
Maybe.
In rose water.
Maybe.
Right? Look.
Yeah.
This is fino.
Yeah.
In rose water. Manos del Uruguay.
I don't know how you can remember everything.
I have no idea.
Everything.
Like
everything
this.
you need and everything I need. It's terrible.
Yes. This is leftovers.
I love you.
I love you too. Do you remember what size you are making?
I think it is large.
Large. Very nice.
Very nice.
Mom is using, this is your favorite bag,
Yeah.
according to you. So this is a failed prototype from Hoji & Co. Actually, Mom and I have all the Hoji & Co bags all around the place, but I feel kind of embarrassed because I feel like I'm advertising the bags all the time, but honestly, that's all we use. I just wanted to show these prototype because I told you Mom and I get a lot of the rejected prototypes. This was the first prototype we made for our vegan version of the VA bag. The definite version has now a metallic tag with our logo, and then we decided not to do the contrasting handle. We like it, but we decided that it would look better with the same color. And then we used a snap here that was not strong enough to hold the knitting while you do this. So what we did is we super glued this snap in this position. You cannot really now attach it to the other side. So Mom's bag is fixed here, but it's okay. And then the other thing that had gone wrong with this prototype is we had used contrasting lining fabric that we didn't like the quality of the fabric.
It is.
So we changed that.
It is perfect for me.
So that's how we come up with a finished bag after making all these prototypes that then Mom and I get to keep as our project bags. So this is, according to you, it's your favorite project bag.
It is.
Sorry, we had a small interruption. So next is one of my works in progress. This week I was trying to decide what I would be making next. I have lots of things that I want to work on, but I remember that last year I had planned a project and then I never had the time to actually make it happen. So last year someone on Instagram, and there was, I don't know, I think it was in someone else's post that someone tagged me, and she talked about how it would be nice to have more popular designers design with more affordable options for yarns. And that is also something that I've been thinking about. I'm not against using any kind of yarn. So if you have watched all 45 journals, I've never once criticized any kind of yarn. I actually think that all yarns have their purpose. This is something that I stand by, that has always been like that. It's not that now I think, oh, we should be more accessible or inclusive, and suddenly I realize about more affordable options. I'm always concerned about that. So, well, I do know that every time I publish a design, I think about more affordable options. In several occasions, we have discussed in my forums what more affordable alternatives are for some of the designs that use very expensive yarns. Like, for example, when I designed with Woolfolk Loft, we opened a thread to recommend a lot cheaper yarns, because that design, if you wanted to knit it with the recommended yarn, it was cost prohibitive for most knitters. So I did say, you know, we do recommend more affordable options, but then I figured out that sometimes maybe it's not so nice that you always have to replace a nicer yarn with a more affordable option, right? So even though we encourage that, even though we help people replace, I thought it would be nice that, you know, sometimes I can just use the recommended yarn and I can afford that recommended yarn. This knitter said it would be nice to have this or that designer design with Lion Brand or Red Heart Super Saver, and she mentioned a few other super affordable, super cheap yarns. So I thought, okay, I think this is something that I would like to do. I didn't have yarn at the time that would be suitable for this design, so these are some of the things that I thought. In Argentina, we can buy really inexpensive yarns, a lot cheaper than Lion Brand, the yarn that I'm going to show you right now. Lion Brand is actually not so cheap for Argentine knitters. Knit Picks is a good yarn, but it's not so cheap for us. Mm-hmm. It's actually kind of an investment for an ordinary, regular, average Argentine knitter. So one option would have been for me to go to a local yarn store and pick up some really inexpensive acrylic yarn, like the kind of yarn that I buy for my students in the community house that I teach at. But I didn't think that it would fulfill the purpose, that it's to actually show a yarn that a lot of the community know and identify as a cheap yarn. Also, I feel like you wouldn't find online information about the yarn that I can get in Argentina, but you can find a lot of online information about the yarn that I'm using for this design. And that will also help you replace the yarn even if you're in countries where Lion Brand is not being sold. So you can access this online information and see that this yarn is 80% acrylic, 20% wool, and XX yards per ball. And most importantly, this yarn, as I said, is perceived as something cheap or affordable by most people. Every time I've read posts or threads about affordable options, this brand is mentioned. The content was also important. I know that I could have found natural fibers. I spent $20 in this project's materials.
How much?
$20. I bought more yarn than I'm going to use, but if you just buy what I'm going to use, you'll spend $20. I used a coupon. Probably you'll spend 25-ish if you don't use a coupon. And I know that I could have found wool for that amount in Knit Picks, or I could have done some super good research and found wool in a sweater quantity for $25, but also that is not the point. The point is not finding the one wool yarn that I can buy with $25. The point is offering a yarn that is very easily found and that there are lots of alternatives for $25 using a similar yarn. Do you know what I mean? I think that, you know, if it's about not spending yarn, I can go to a thrift store and ravel a sweater and then get super thrifty with my design. But I want my design to showcase something that is considered affordable and easily available. Do you understand what I try to say? Okay. So I had to buy this yarn abroad. I had to buy it in the States and have a friend bring it to me. So I had to wait. By the time it arrived in December, and I was very wound up doing other things, and I didn't start the design until now. But I think it's working out okay. So the yarn that I decided to use, I also asked for recommendations in my stories back then when I purchased the yarn. I asked for recommendations for good acrylic blends and other affordable yarns, and I decided to go with this one because it was the one that offered most coupon discounts. So this is Lion brand Wool Is. It's a 100-gram ball, and it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool, and it's fantastic. It's really, really, really nice yarn. It feels really nice. I'm knitting it. It's only just a little bit splitty. Sometimes, not always. I feel like I'm making an elaborate lace pattern, and sometimes it opens up, but not more than other yarns. It's just sometimes I feel like one of the loops of the yarn skips my needle, so I have to be careful when I'm doing like knit two togethers and stuff. It's very soft. It doesn't feel acrylic-y.
Really soft.
It's really soft. And so also some considerations about my design. I'll tell you what I'm making. Let me
look. It is soft.
It is very soft. It is very, very soft, and it feels woolly, and it looks beautiful. Okay, let me show you. Okay, I do have a stitch marker that's giving you the middle finger, and sorry about that. It's not, don't take it personally. It was a gift from one of my funniest students when I was working in Florida last year. So this is the design that I'm working on. It's a patterned raglan pullover with a gorgeous lace.
This is very nice.
Thanks. Lace and bubble stitch pattern. And okay, so when I was deciding what to knit with this yarn, I have 3 colors, by the way, so I won't have enough yarn to make it all in this gray, so I'll have to color block it, and the bottom part is going to be in this other heather gray. So this is heather gray, and this is darker heather gray. I think this is gray heather, and this is Oxford gray, if I'm not mistaken. I also ordered a pink yarn that I showed on my Instagram, but I think I'm going to use just the 2 grays. So my initial idea when I bought those 3 colors was to make a color blocked cardigan with pockets, long one. But then turns out that I decided to use that idea for interpretations. So I cannot make that design because I will be making that with Amy's yarn from La Bien-Aimée for later during the year. So I was like, oh, should I still do it? Which color what?
They went there for interpretations.
It's a set that I bought from La Bien-Aimée in several colors. So I thought, oh, should I still do it? Should I change it? And no, I need to keep that for interpretation. So I was, man, I should have bought just one color in enough for a sweater. I should have bought more, but my friend was bringing all this yarn for me. I couldn't have bought more. So then I thought, okay, I'll do a very basic striped cardigan with buttons, very basic drop shoulder. So I started doing that. I started doing a very basic drop shoulder cardigan, similar to Elton, but in worsted weight. And then as I was knitting, I realized that I was not making it look worthy, you know. I was just making something quick, easy. Sure, people would like it, but I was not paying tribute to the yarn, and I want to make the yarn look its best. I want to also give the message that, you know, this beautiful yarn that I have is worthy of one of my most beautiful designs.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
You're designing something very, very nice with a cheap yarn.
Yes, and it's looking great. It's looking gorgeous. I'm in love with this yarn. I'm going to use it again. But, you know, I was knitting and I was like, I am not, you know, making this yarn look as, you know, I'm not using the full potential of the yarn. And my goal with this design is to, you know, make people use the same yarn that I use. That is my goal, to make people want to knit with that same exact yarn that I am using.
The message is that the message is that you can do a very nice thing.
Exactly. As someone,
any kind of,
exactly. As someone commented on Instagram, it's not. You know, the tools are only as good as the maker is, and that is correct. Like, it doesn't matter what we use. What matters is, you know, how much love we put into the knitting, and you know, how skilled we are, of course. So I really wanted to design something that was a lot better design-wise than just a simple striped cardigan. So I frogged that and I started again. So I used 4.5 millimeter needles for the neckline, and I'm using 5 millimeter needles for the body. It has a texture stitch pattern that I call sand stitch, and then it has a lace panel running down the front. It has a beautiful lace motif with little bubbles, not a lot of them, but you can see them there. This panel is also present in the back. And then on the sleeves, we have these columns of eyelets and lace coming down the sleeves. And yes, so I'm very, very happy with the way it's turning out. It's really nice on the hands. And so I have three balls of this color, and I bought 3 balls of this color, but I only have 2. I have no idea where the other one went. So I hope I'll have enough to make this design using just 5 skeins in total of these Lion Brand woolies. Of course, I think it's going to look pretty cool color blocked. I'm going to just cut it here. I think it's going to add an extra feature of interest to the design, but of course, if people prefer to just work it in one color, that's perfectly fine. And yes, so that's that. I'm writing the pattern. Yeah, so that's my, and because I'm as I said, I'm trying to pay homage to the yarn and tell her that she's worthy of one of my best designs. I'm probably going to name this design Worthy because I really like that word. So I opened up a project page on Ravelry, and I'm like writing my notes on the design process and everything there. If you want to go to Instagram and take a look at the comments that I received when I announced that I was going to use Lion Brand woolies for one of my designs, it's really heartwarming to read how happy people are, and I encourage you to go read, because there are lots of stories about how many of us feel looked down on by other people who don't appreciate the knitter, and they only care about the materials some knitters use. So go read some of those comments and check out how many of us really struggle to, afford $100 worth of yarn for a design.
I read some posts about people who remember their grandmothers.
Yes, what happens with these yarns is that, especially Lion Brand, the yarn that I decided to use, I had never used it before, but lots of people recommended this, and they said it's so hard wearing and it lasts for ages. And so when I said I was going to use this, so many people said this is what my grandma used to knit with, and we still have her blankets. They are 30 years old.
And that they could buy it in the supermarket.
Exactly. So also what makes me think is that a brand and a certain type of yarn that has been in the market for 30 years, 40 years, it has to be good, right? It has to be something that withstands the passing of the time. So I'm very happy to be working on this design. I'm eager to show you more of it as I make progress. You don't have any other work in progress?
No.
Okay, I have one more. So also I finished the socks that I was working on. I showed the finished socks during the last journal, and I was trying to keep myself from starting another pair, because whenever I'm knitting socks, I'm not designing, because I really like knitting on whatever sock I'm working on at the time. So I thought, no, I'm not going to knit a new pair of socks, and I'm just going to design all the shawls and all the sweaters. But I just couldn't keep myself. I like to have a pair of socks on the needles always,
just in case,
because I can carry my little BA bag with my socks anywhere, any place, every time, like we go out to a restaurant and I have to wait for my meal, or anytime I have to, go to school or on the car, and I just toss my sock project there and I can knit. So this is actually a new sock design that I'm working on. It's going to be a pattern eventually, someday.
I think it deserves a pattern.
Thanks. So it's a 2-color sock. All the work is done. Now the rest of the sock will be just these tiny stripes in 2 colors. It features a 2x2 ribbing, and then a little bit of stockinette stitch and a nice elaborate lace band, and then the sock is just stripes to the end of the sock.
To the foot?
Yes. I'm just going to do a plain heel. So the heel is going to be probably in the black, and then the toe is probably going to be in the pink. But the rest of the sock is going to be just stripes, because what I like about a sock is that it's mindless and I can just knit. So I feel like once I get past the first part of the sock, which is when I'm most excited, like, oh, I'll start the sock, and then and then I get bored. So then I'm like, oh, I don't want to see these socks anymore. I just want to finish them. So then I have a nice and relaxing section of just stripes. The only thing I don't like about striping is that I have to carry these two, and I have to keep untangling them.
And sometimes they mix.
Yes, like right now they might be a little tangled. I find that there are some kinds of yarns that get more tangled than others. I think it has to do with the way they are plied and spun. Like this one particularly, it gets all these little coils, but I love the yarn. So let me tell you about the yarn. I'm in love with this yarn. Unfortunately, I have a feeling you cannot get it, but I'm in love with it. So this yarn was a gift from my friend Tina from Finland. I don't remember very well where she was. I think she was at a show, at a marketplace or a festival. And as I have been told, she saw these colors and thought of me. So she bought them and she gave them to my friend Julie for her to give them to me. So I don't know the story very well. Of course, I thank Tina and she knows that I'm using it, but I don't know why she bought me this yarn. I just know she was at the show and she said, oh, I'll buy that for Hoji, and a few months later I received it somehow. So this yarn is called Mahudli. The dyer's name is Becca. I think she's somewhere in England. And I think that she's on a break dyeing. But when I tagged her on Instagram, she said that she was so happy that I was using her yarn and that I had given her a little push to try to dye her yarn again. So I hope she does. If she doesn't, of course you can replace this yarn with any soft yarn you like. I'm not going to not use it for my design. So it's 100% blue face Leicester. I love blue face Leicester for socks. It's probably my favorite base for socks. I think that it makes for super long lasting socks. And the colors that she dyed are Mr. Thornton, Mrs. Thornton, I think that's the dark color. It's almost black, but it's kind of brownish. Mrs. Thornton, and then Mina Murray. Mina Murray, it's that pinkish blush color. So that's my new sock design. I'm going to travel to Uruguay tomorrow to visit my friend Ale. She had a birthday on January 25 and I was here in Buenos Aires, but she was she was in Uruguay. She spends her summer there. So I texted her for her birthday and I told her that I miss her because we don't get to see each other much during the summers. And she said, do you want to come? I'll be by myself, but you know, in the apartment. And I said, I think I will come. So I checked if I could find a nice flight to go see her so that it's quick. And I found one, so I'm flying tomorrow to see Ale for 3 days and then I'm flying back home. So I'm probably going to take my socks with me and maybe my shawl. I don't know whether to take the Lion Brand sweater or the shawl. I don't know. I feel like the shawl is more practical, but I haven't fully decided how that's going to be.
And what about the sweater?
And the sweater I have already written the pattern, so I might take the sweater with me. So that's my last work in progress. You have only one finished object to show, right? And you want to save it to the end.
The yarn.
Do you want to show the yarn? It's here. So this, sorry about all the noise. Take it. I'm gonna take it away from the computer so that it's not so noisy. So this This is some yarn that was sent to you by Shibui. So a while ago, Shibui sent me some yarn to design the cedar sweater. And they asked me if I wanted to. She said, does your mom need anything? Because Shibui people, they watch the journal and they always ask about mom. Does your mom need anything? I'm like, yeah, mom always likes yarn. And she asked me what color you like, and I said, I think she likes purple. So they sent you 2 lots of yarn. Right, so 2 different batches of yarn. One of them is a bag of this. It's the reed, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the same that I use for, 100% linen. So this is the same that I use for cedar. I used it double-stranded, but you can use it single-stranded if you prefer. This is perfect for a summer knit. It's 100% linen. And the color is called color number 20, no, velvet, color velvet.
Velvet.
And the dye lot is 2017. So this yarn they tried to send it to Michigan when I was there last year, and the box got lost. They sent it to Chicago when Charlie and I were staying at the hotel. They sent it to Chicago, and USPS said they didn't find the place. Then they overnighted it to the yarn store we visited in Michigan, Wool and Honey, and it also didn't arrive before we left. So fortunately, Tracy from the Grocery Girls, she was there, and she received this yarn for Mom, and she kept it. And then she was so wonderful. She sent it to Diane, who was vending at Vogue Knitting Live, and then she asked me, I have yarn for you, do you want me to bring it? And she was so wonderful, she brought all this yarn for you. So when we were at the show, she forgot to give it to us there, but then she sent it with someone. I don't know, this yarn, there were so many hands involved in you getting all this yarn.
It has a long story.
It has a long story. And then the other thing they sent, this is so nice. It's a batch of their new tweed silk cloud. So they make the silk cloud, which I have used a few times, which is like a regular silk and mohair lace weight. But this year they've been making the tweed silk cloud, which is 65% silk, 35% mohair, and it's a lot thicker, I believe, than their regular silk cloud, and it has this tweedy look. If you can see the knobs, I don't think that they are showing a lot in this color, but they show better in other colors. It's like a tweedy effect. So you got a full bag of the tweed silk cloud and a full bag of and then this. So someone asked me if we had bought any Lola Bean yarn at the show at Vogue Knitting Live, because we had posted a picture about visiting the booth. And the truth is that it's Mom who purchased this gorgeous yarn. There was I was astonished by how little yarn there was left at the booth when we arrived. There was not a lot left, but we picked these 2 together. Mom bought them. And I might make 2 color shawl design for her to use.
She told me she was going to design a very nice two skins short.
And it's gorgeous. We are really we both love this color combo.
I love the colors, and I must say that I must tell you that I was very happy to meet those nice girls.
Yes, Della and Gigi. Yes, they were both very warm. Moms get very emotional.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to meet a lot of people at the show. But Mom and I have been talking about these two ladies for a long time. Adela and Gigi, I had told her stories about things that I've been reading on Instagram. And I had made a note of going to Adela's booth. I just wanted to save it for the last of our day because I wanted to hang out there for a little bit. And so we were just putting some things away. I told you that we were keeping our bags at Magpie Fiber's booth, and we were putting some things away. And Mom was saying, like, are we going to go and see Gigi? Do you think she's here in the show? The lady who sang you those songs and who wears all the orange colors. And said yes, we're actually going to go now. She's in this floor. We're going there now. And then we feel like, and we turn around and there's Gigi there with open arms and hugs, and we couldn't believe it. We told her, like, we were just talking about you, and we were just going to see you and Adela at the booth where you guys were at. So it was wonderful. We walked there with her. We chatted for a little bit. I feel like whenever I meet someone that I really want to meet, I don't know what to talk about, or it's hard to make conversation. Everyone's very exhausted, excited, and it's not like you know these people you want to meet in real life so that you can ask them about something in particular, right? So it's a bit awkward, but also very heartwarming, right? And you just want to hug the person and say, hi, I really like you, and I really like the things you write. And
I think I only wanted to
hug
them.
Yes. So we're so glad that they were both huggers, because we hugged a lot, and I sometimes feel like we overhug. Anyway, that was really nice, and even though there wasn't a lot of yarn, we came up with this gorgeous set, which is amazing. And this is her silk bean. It's 70% superwash merino, 30% silk, and this color is called Romaine Calm, as in romaine, not remain, Romaine Calm. And this color is Give Peace a Chance, as in peace, as in a piece in a pot, not as in peace, as in John Lennon peace. I love her colorway names are the best. They are not better than the yarn, but almost better than the yarn. So that is the last of Mom's yarns. You also got a present from Carol, but you didn't bring it.
I didn't bring it.
Okay, so this is Mom's haul from
my treasures.
Your treasures. I'm just gonna put this here.
Yeah.
And then we can we make it tidy. So I have one finished object, but I still have to block the second sleeve. This I showed you last week. Hold on. It's a new design that I made for Woolberry Yarn Company. It's a boxy pullover with stripes. With so soft yarn. It's so soft, you guys. This is gorgeous. This is her Woolberry cashmere DK. It's a cashmere nylon, merino cashmere nylon blend in DK weight. The colors that I used are a single pearl and flora. And this design is part of the Woolberry Wardrobe collection for 2020, and it's coming out at the end of February. I only had one sleeve last week, and now I have a second sleeve, yay! And I also have sewn the buttons over the button bands of the shoulders. These buttons, I purchased them when I was in Vancouver, Canada. They are vintage buttons, and I thought that they were perfect. First, I thought of getting purple buttons so that they would match the stripes.
How many skins?
4 of the main color and 1 of the contrasting color, with no leftovers.
I know.
Like no leftovers at all. So first I thought I would add contrasting color buttons to match the stripes, but when I added those, it was too much. It was like too matchy, the buttons and the stripes. It looked childish. So I decided to go for a more subtle button choice, and I love it. So this is coming at the end of the month. Stay tuned, we are testing it. And that is my only finished
Do you want to talk about this
project for today. So one of the patterns that was released at the end of last year that I still haven't shown, I have shown this in the journal several times, but I didn't have the pattern available yet, is my Florist Socks. They are these shorty, very simple socks. They are made with just half a skein of sock yarn, and they have this feather and fan pattern on the top of the foot. And the reason why I wanted to show them today is that because when I first published them, I decided to donate $1,500 of whatever the sale, like 100% of the sales until I reach $1,500 will be donated to the women that I teach for on Thursdays. So on Thursdays I go to a village in Buenos Aires that is super underdeveloped in terms of households. And the women there are of very low income, but they are very powerful, and they are members of a community house. They meet in this community house to talk about the issues the problems that they have to go through being members of that village. All of them are migrants. They are immigrants from neighboring countries like Bolivia and Paraguay. Well, they face a lot of hardships coming to the country, but I always try to remember that probably they face even harder problems where they come from. And so in this house they talk about abuse, they talk about they have sex education, health prevention, and they have the house organizes different workshops. So they have Zumba classes sometimes, and they've had some cooking workshops, and every other Thursday I go to this house and meet them, and we knit together and plan their future knitting projects. And every Christmas I like to do a fundraiser for some kind of local project. I do fundraisings for projects around the world. I've done fundraisers for places in the US, in Africa, but I am always reminded that my country needs a lot too.
You wanted to do something near.
So I wanted to do something near, and I wanted to be involved. I didn't want to just give money to a group of people and then not be involved in whatever that was. So I decided, they told me that they wanted to build a community kitchen. A community kitchen is within this house where we have our knitting meetings. They wanted to buy equipment, an oven, a stovetop, a knitting table, and a fridge to be able to cook for children who come to this house and have an afternoon snack and an afternoon meal on Tuesdays and Fridays. So they wanted to cook for these kids in this kitchen, but also they wanted to sell the products that come out from this kitchen. So they are very skilled. They can cook empanadas, cakes, gluten-free bread, gluten-free cakes, vegan, all kinds of vegan food. They have really learned very specialized ways of cooking, but they didn't have a place to get together and do it. So we raised funds at the end of last year, and I used this pattern as a fundraiser, and we reached the goal like in 1 day. In 1 day we had already sold enough copies to buy everything we need for this kitchen. At the end of the year it was hard to meet up with them because some of them had returned to their countries of origin to visit their families. Some of them were away from the village for different reasons. They were not getting together as regularly as during the year. So I could only meet up with them last week, and we went out and bought the stovetop and the oven. And we are going slowly with the equipment. I don't want us to buy everything at the same time and then not have enough energy or space or organization to install everything. But we bought the stovetop, the oven, and now it's been installed, and they have now sent me photos of the first day of production that I'm going to put now here. So everything is thanks to you. I want to thank you for being a part of every project, every charity project that I come up with. You guys always support me. And I also wanted to say that it's not necessary to buy a copy of the pattern now, because the pattern is up for sale now, but I am not donating any of future sales because we have already reached this goal. And sometimes people say, why don't you donate more money? Right? And I just don't always have a place to allocate that money. It's not as simple. If I have more money donated to me, I don't always know where that money goes, right? And this time I really want to know where the money goes, what we're doing with that, and I'm involved. I can tell you that this money has been used in building something that's empowering, that is giving these women a job and something to do, and we don't need any more money at the moment. So if you want to buy a copy of the pattern, that will support my family. And I appreciate that, but it's not necessary for you to go buy this pattern again.
In only 1 day.
Exactly. So it fills me with pride that you guys are so amazing that you helped me reach my goal in just 1 day. But I wanted to be very transparent about the fact that we have already reached the goal. So if you buy a copy of this pattern, it will support my family. But I'm very happy with this project. I hope it's okay for me to share what we do with this group of women. I'm very proud of them. And if I can find new ways for us to support them together, don't worry, I will ask for more help. Sometimes helping is not just pressing a button and sending money. Sometimes it takes a bit more organizing than that. Well, so that's that. That is the Florist Socks. The yarn that I use for this is by Vivid Yarns. And I don't remember the color, but it's in the pattern.
I have mine in pink color.
Yes. And last but not least is your finished object.
Is this one? Do you know?
Okay, so if you watched the last journal that Mom and I recorded, she was about to show a work in progress, and I said, no. You cannot show that. You cannot show that, and you cannot wear it at Vogue Knitting Live, because I think she wanted to finish this in time for Vogue Knitting Live, and I said, no, you cannot wear that yet. So this is an exact copy of the
original one.
So if you've been on Instagram at all last week, you probably saw that Pom Pom has launched the pre-orders for their spring issue number 32. And they have already created all the pattern pages on Ravelry, so you can go and check out all the designs that are included with that magazine. And I'm so happy and so honored that my design, which is an exact copy of this one but a size smaller, is featured in the cover of that magazine, which was a surprise to me until last week. And when I learned, it was very hard to keep it a secret, super hard to keep it a secret, until Pom Pom finally made their photos public. So you probably saw this yarn a while ago. I shared that I had been to Uruguay and that I had brought the yarn that I finally used for this design. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about this design. Last year I didn't record many journals, and it's not only because I found that I didn't have a lot of time to record and I felt burnt out, but also I wasn't knitting much. And in many of those journals I showed the same projects, and if you, like for example in 2018, if you watch the sequence of the journals and how often I recorded and how many projects I had to show, sewing and knitting and doing a lot of things, and you compare that to 2019, even if everyone says like, okay, you knit and you produce so much, you really can tell that there was I was going through a lump, I would say, in my knitting. I was really producing a lot less. It had to do with the fact that I was using a lot of my time for our bag business. But also it had to do with the fact that I really didn't know what to knit, who to knit for, and why to design something new. I was very insecure. I didn't know whether the things that I was putting out there were worthy, and I just didn't find motivation to work on anything new. But mostly I was feeling very insecure of my capability to put out new patterns. I did it every now and then, but a lot less than I used to. So probably in September was when I was feeling the least motivated. I looked around and I didn't find any knitting around me, and I didn't feel the urge to start anything new. And so I talked to Pom Pom, and I talked to Megan, the editor, quite a lot, and we sent each other messages, and I told her that I was feeling this way and that working for Pom Pom had always made me happy, and the fact that having someone give me a deadline and having someone give me like a mood board or a proposal probably could help me get my engine going again. And so she sent me the spring call for submissions, and I prepared a few things for them to look at. And so they picked up this design among the ones that I sent, which was of course my favorite. And it would involve a lot of knitting, and it was okay because honestly at the time I wasn't working on anything. I would normally freak out when a publisher picks up something that demands so much knitting because I'm slow. But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this design for them. So I was happy. I was happy to have that in my list of pending things. You know how I normally avoid commitments and I avoid deadlines, but I was really needing a deadline and a commitment. So they picked this. I could use any yarn, but they know that I can't receive yarn, so they know that I have to work from stash. And I don't have a lot of mohair in my stash. I almost don't have any mohair in my stash. So I was crossing over to Uruguay to visit Ale, and I decided to ask them, would you like me to use Manos del Uruguay? Because it's a wonderful company. They are non-profit. They do excellent work with women. And I'm here in Uruguay and they have mohair. So they said yes. And so I sent the proposal to Manos. I sent Manos the color scheme that Pompon needed, and my friend Ceci in Manos, she put together, she brought, we met up at Alice's place, and she brought a bag of yarn and said, you can pick from this. We put together the yarns that I use for this design. So for the cuffs, I use a color of Fino called Havisham. Fino is a merino silk blend. So I use Havisham in Fino and mohair held together for the cuffs. Then I use the mohair single-stranded for these bands. This color of mohair is called rose water. So for the cuffs I use Havisham and rose water held together. This is just mohair in rose water, and this is Fino only. No, sorry, it's not rose water, it's primrose, the mohair. And this is Fino in rose water for the lace bands. So the sweater is a circular yoke, and it has bands of lace and bands of single-stranded mohair. And I just started working on it. I got home, I wound up the yarn, and I started working on it. And then one day I take it out of my bag, and Mom goes like, "What is that? Do you remember?"
Yes, I fully.
What is that? And I was like, yeah, it's the first project that's made me happy in such a long time. I'm so happy making this. What is that? No, I'm making it for Pom Pom. It's a secret. And she says, oh, I want to test that. And I said, okay. And she's like, oh, I would like to test it in the exact same colorway. I'm like, okay. And the thing is that I didn't know how much yarn it would take me, and Sissy said, just take all of this yarn with you. So I had enough yarn for Mom to knit a sample of her own in the same colors. I had so much yarn at home. So I surprised her and I offered her a kit to make her own susurrus. This is, by the way, the name of the pattern is Susurrus. So she made a slightly bigger size than I made for the magazine. What else? Yes, and I remember telling Charlie all the time, I'm so happy knitting this sweater. I'm so happy knitting this sweater. I'm so happy knitting this sweater. That also meant that I was not sharing a lot of knitting content already. And then the one time that I'm knitting something that makes me happy is a complete secret, top secret, and I cannot share it with anyone. So I went quiet for a long time. It took me a long time to finish. I took it to a few trips that I went on, but I finished it very late for my deadline. I had to send it super express from Argentina in order for it to arrive in time for the photo shoot. And then once I sent it, it was out of my mind. I sort of forgot about it.
No, but I remember that you were so sorry because you were preparing the package.
Yes.
You were saying goodbye to a very nice project.
Yes. I put it inside one of our project bags, and yes, I said, okay, I hope it works out. I hope they like it. Also, all the time that while I was working on this, I was so in love with the design. I honestly think this is probably the most beautiful sweater I've ever designed. Do you want to wear it, or is it too hot?
No, it is not too hot.
And so I kept sending text messages to Pom Pom with my work in progress, and I was like, I'm so in love with this. Do you guys like it? Do you guys like it as much as I do? Because I was so proud. And they were like, yes, we love it, we love it, we love it. And they were so sweet, and they kept saying that they wanted to make one of their own. And it's so nice, Mommy.
It is delicious.
It's very, very delicate. Oh, it's perfect on you. It's the most beautiful sweater you have.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So I kept asking Pom Pom, do you like it? Do you like it? And they were like, yes, we love it. So I was feeling down, that I needed a boost in my confidence. They were giving me exactly what I needed. Like, they were so wonderful. And so I sent it out, and I was quite insecure when I sent it. Like, oh, I know that I've been teasing them with all these photos of the work in progress. Will they like it now that they see it in person? Like, will they still think that it's that, like I feel like it's the most beautiful sweater I've designed? But that was it. Like, I think they said something like, yeah, we'll receive the sweater, and then they probably became super busy with the photo shoot and everything. Then, like, holidays came, we went away on a trip, and when we arrived back from the US, I get this email from Pom Pom, and they say, Joji, we have finished the photos, we would like you to see them, and we are releasing them on February 6th. And there's a zip file, so I cannot really see the preview of the images from my email or on my phone, so I have to go to my computer, open the zip file, and then boom.
The cover.
The cover. First of all, I see this gorgeous model. The styling is so fantastic, and well, she's got her gorgeous makeup, beautiful lips, and she's wearing my sweater like she's wearing the most, I don't know, exclusive piece of couture that ever existed. She's so proud in my sweater, and I'm like, I can't believe I made that sweater. Then I realized it's the cover. Oh, I can't believe they put my sweater in the cover. And then I realized that the model is sitting. The photograph is not full body, and I see her arm is resting on some kind of different armrest, like some kind of armchair. So I opened the other photos, and I realized that the model is actually sitting on a wheelchair. She's a disabled model. It's the first time we see a disabled model on that I see a disabled model on a knitting magazine. There might be other examples, but I hadn't seen a disabled model on a knitting magazine. She's so gorgeous and stunning, and I love the fact that the photographer didn't make it about the chair. The photographer made it about the model and about the sweater, and then only after you really take a look at the whole set of photos, You see that she's sitting on a wheelchair, which I think it's a really fantastic way to showcase diversity that we have in our knitting community. I had nothing to do with the production of that cover or the styling. I was just as surprised as you were. I feel like a lot of people had shown me a lot of love about that cover. I take the compliments on the design, but the styling is all the work of art by the people who were involved in that photo shoot. So the stylist for that photo shoot was Ocean Rose. She's an artist and yarn dyer from the UK, and she was hired by Pom Pom to work as the art director for this issue. So she did all the styling, she did all the clothes and makeup planning and accessory, and yes, the art direction for the photography was Ocean's idea, and of course Pom Pom, I'm sure as well. They always have these nice open. I don't know. They are an open magazine. Every time I open an issue of Pom Pom, I feel like I can be that girl that they're showing in their magazine. I can be the person knitting those things or making those things or cooking or I don't know. I just like their approach. So, needless to say, this was an absolute perfect ending for my story. I needed encouragement. I needed a boost in my confidence last year, and working for Pom Pom was amazing. I know that I told this long story, but I cannot even tell you how much I cried when I opened those photos and I saw how this story ended, being featured in the cover of this magazine, being part of this very special issue, the first issue that they edit in this decade. And I'm very glad that I made that call, that I told Pom Pom I really need a bit of teamwork, and that I ended up working for them. So thank you, Mom, for being one of my only test knitters. I'm gonna do now a photo shoot of Mom and her new sweater. Probably we're now at the summer house, so it's the perfect opportunity. And yes, it was very secret, and I counted on you to help me test that. So, do you have anything else to share?
No, nothing more.
Thank you everyone for being here and for listening to all our stories. I do all the talking, but Mom and I talk about all these things before recording, and I sort of speak a lot for both of us. And as always, we are very happy that you watch us, and needless to say, to everyone who came involved and said hello to us, and especially those of you who made an effort and spoke loud and in Spanish to my mom. Thank you. We really appreciate all the love and all the kindness you show to both of us, and thank you for being here, and see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.